The English countryside looked different at 2 a.m. There was something about it, something hollow, wide, and disorienting. The roads were too quiet, the trees too still, the stars above cold and indifferent. It was the kind of night that made you forget what season it was, or how long you'd been driving. The kind of night that made time feel imaginary. Alex rubbed at his tired eyes, one hand on the wheel, the other reaching blindly for the can of energy drink in the passenger seat. He'd left his parents' place later than planned. Much later. The usual route home should have taken under an hour, even with the winding country lanes and sleepy speed limits. But now something was wrong. The road ahead had been sealed off. No cones, no workers, just a massive rectangular screen, bright white and blinding against the night. And across the glowing surface, in thick black capital letters, it simply said, "Turn left." Alex squinted at it, slowing to a crawl. The screen buzzed slightly, like it was more alive than mechanical. No detour sign, no indication of what was wrong ahead. Just turn left. Something about it felt forced, not an instruction, but a command. Still, there wasn't really a choice. He sighed and turned the wheel. Left? It was. The lane was narrow and wrapped tightly by hedgerows, high and wild and reaching. The car's headlights carved a tunnel through the blackness, barely illuminating more than 20 feet ahead. His GPS, completely lost. No signal, no map, just a dot floating in a digital void. Alex muttered to himself, "Brilliant! Should have stayed the night." The road dipped, twisted, climbed again. Then, without warning, he rolled up to a four-way junction, a stop sign, empty road stretching left, right, and straight ahead. He slowed, checked both directions, then continued forward. Another few minutes of winding tarmac and another junction. Same stop sign, same surroundings, same feeling in his gut. Deja vu. He checked the clock. It hadn't changed. He took the right turn this time. 5 minutes later, the same junction. His stomach twisted. Chum. By the fifth time, the headlights fell on something new. A wooden bench sat just off to the side of the road. Old, moss-covered, slightly crooked. He hadn't seen it before. But now, it was just there, like it had always been. Alex slowed to a stop, staring. No people, no signs, no houses, just the bench. He pressed his foot down again and continued. At the next junction, the bench was still there. Only now, a small side table sat beside it, and on that table, a cracked ceramic teacup. Alex's mouth went dry. His heart beat harder than it should have. He turned left this time, then right, then tried reversing for 10 straight minutes. Every route ended the same way, back at the junction, back at the bench, back at the teacup. He got out of the car. The air outside was icy, still. Leaves crunched underfoot. He approached the bench hesitantly, like it might move. Nothing did, just a bench, a table, a cup. He ran his hand over the wood, rough, damp, real. He whispered aloud, "What the hell is this?" No answer, only the wind picking up just slightly as if to suggest it hurt him. Back in the car, Alex stared at the steering wheel for a long time before choosing a road again. The next time he reached the junction, there was a figure at the edge of the hedge, unmoving, straw hat, tattered clothes, a scarecrow, or something pretending to be one. It hadn't been there before, and it was facing the road. Alex didn't move for nearly 5 minutes. The car idled quietly, headlights fixed on the scarecrow ahead. It hadn't shifted, hadn't twitched, still stood there like a prop, arms out, shoulders stiff, its straw hat slouched over where a face might have been. He tried to reason with himself. It's just a decoration, a prank, maybe. Farmers did weird things out in the countryside, right? but no matter how he framed it, something felt off. The junction was silent, too silent, no wind, no distant owls, no insects humming, just him, the idling engine, and it. Alex adjusted in his seat, never breaking eye contact with the figure. Then he blinked, and it looked closer, just slightly, a foot or two, like the shadows had shifted and it had come with them. He hit the lock button on the car. The click sounded too loud, too final. 10 more minutes passed, still no movement. The figure remained. Maybe he imagined it, the closeness, the unease, but the longer he stared, the more the figure seemed wrong. Its posture was too stiff, the arms too heavy. It wasn't propped like a traditional scarecrow. It was standing on its own. Alex's throat was dry. He opened the glove box, pulled out the small torch he kept in there for emergencies. The light clicked on, and he swallowed hard. "Just look," he whispered to himself. "If it's nothing, you can laugh about it." He stepped out. The gravel crunched beneath his boots. One step, then another. The flashlight beam quivered with every breath. He approached slowly, heart hammering. The car behind him felt like an anchor, something solid, something safe. This thing in front of him, though, was none of those things. Up close, it was worse. Its clothes were damp and clung to its frame like they'd been buried underground. The fabric was patched, frayed, hanging in ribbons. Its arms weren't stuffed, they were shaped, subtle contours, elbows, wrists, fingers, human fingers maybe, and its face. There wasn't one, not really, just folds of cloth, wrinkled and sunken as though wrapped around a head that was once human. The hat sat too perfectly on its head, like it didn't belong. Alex reached out, just to brush the fabric, prove to himself it was fake, just clothes and straw and wire. His fingers touched the shoulder. It was cold, not like straw, not like wood, like flesh left too long in the shade. And then, the thing's eyes opened, two glassy orbs, milky, wide. Alex gasped, froze. His body screamed to move, but his feet didn't obey. Then its hand shot up, snapping onto his wrist with unnatural speed. The grip was strong, too strong, freezing cold, rigid. Beneath the fabric it wasn't soft. It was tight, solid, alive. Alex screamed. The flashlight dropped, spinning light into the trees like a beacon. He yanked, pulled, kicked at the creature's legs. It didn't speak, didn't groan, just stared. Those eyes, empty and reflective, locked onto his. And then, as suddenly as it had grabbed him, it let go. Alex stumbled back, fell onto the gravel, scrambled to his feet, and ran. He dove into the car, slammed the door, locked it again with shaking hands. Inside, his breath fogged the windows. His chest heaved. His fingers shook. The headlights still pointed toward the junction. The figure hadn't followed. It was back in place, arms out, head tilted, watching, waiting. Alex didn't look back as he sped through the junction. Gravel kicked up beneath the tires, the headlights trembling with every bounce. His hands were clenched so tight on the wheel they throbbed, but he didn't dare ease off the gas. The scarecrow, or whatever it was still fresh in his rearview mirror. Not visually, but mentally, burned into his nerves. His heart wouldn't slow down. He glanced at the clock again, still stuck. 2:04 a.m. "Just keep moving," he muttered. "Forward, don't stop." The road bent, curved, flattened. He passed nothing. No houses, no lights, no signs. Then another junction. His foot slammed the brake out of reflex. Stop sign, empty crossroads, same cracked white lines, the bench, the teacup, and the scarecrow, still in place. Alex swore under his breath. His pulse quickened again. He hadn't made it anywhere. He reversed, pushed the gear into drive, took the left path this time, then right, then the opposite of every turn he had taken earlier. He thought maybe it was a puzzle, some twisted version of Simon Says. 15 minutes of winding roads, of turning at every opportunity that felt wrong, led to the junction again. Only now there were two figures. The second stood across the road from the first. Same hat, same posture. Head tilted slightly. Alex gripped the steering wheel so hard it creaked. He didn't move, just stared at them through the windshield. The first one's arms were lower than before, hanging at its sides now. The second had one hand raised, bent at the elbow like it had been caught mid-wave. He threw the car into reverse, spun around, and floored it. This time, he didn't take turns. He just drove, straight, for as long as the road allowed. Then, the junction again. 3 figures now. He slammed his hand on the steering wheel. Number. This isn't real. The clock on the dashboard flickered. 2:04, 2:03, 2:04. Then nothing, just blank. He leaned forward, trying to make sense of the shapes ahead. The third figure was shorter. Its clothes were different, ripped in a new pattern, face more covered in cloth than the others. They stood like sentries, like statues. But he knew better now. He knew they were watching, waiting. He turned the car off. Silence. Alex sat there in the dark, engine quiet, trying to breathe, trying to think. What did they want? What was the point of this? He whispered, not even sure why. What do you want from me? Nothing replied. Nothing moved. He flicked the engine back on. The headlights caught the figures again, bathing them in pale yellow. Still. Then, one of the heads twitched, not turned, twitched, like something inside was trying to shift but couldn't quite break through. That was enough. He yanked the wheel and turned back the way he came, but even in retreat, the road curled inward like a noose. 10 minutes later, the junction, again, now 4. Alex didn't know how long he'd been driving anymore. The road had lost meaning, just gray ribbons stretching endlessly between moments of dread. The car had become a coffin with windows. He wasn't driving now, he was orbiting. Every path he took spiraled back to the junction. Every turn, every route, every time, deeper into the same waking nightmare. But something had changed. The last time he approached the junction, it was empty. No figures, no scarecrows, no sound. Just the junction, still and waiting. And at the very center of it all, a chair, a table, and his father. Alex slammed the brakes. Dust rose around the car. The headlights cut through it, casting long beams over the scene. There he was, his dad, gray cardigan, jeans, crossed legs, same tired smile he always wore after dinner. In the teacup, steam, rising. His dad didn't move, just sat there, calm, as if the middle of a cursed crossroads was the most natural place in the world. Alex's hands trembled on the steering wheel. "No," he whispered. That's not possible." He blinked, once, twice, still there. His father in the center of the crossroads, sipping tea, his mind fractured. What if it is him? But how? He'd just seen his dad hours ago. He'd hugged him, said goodbye. He was supposed to be asleep back in town. What if they got him too? No, that didn't make sense. What if this is all a breakdown? The loop, the creatures, the junction. Maybe he was asleep. Maybe he was in a coma. Maybe he crashed the car and this was his brain rotting. What if it's a test? Something watching to see what he'd do, punish him if he made the wrong move. What if this is the only way out? That if he walked to the table, sat with his dad, accepted the impossible, maybe the loop would end. His grip tightened on the wheel. "I'm losing it," he whispered. His breath fogged the glass. The windows had begun to collect dew. The air inside was suffocating. He stared at his father, who still hadn't moved, not even a blink. "Dad?" he called out. No response, just that soft smile, that steam from the cup. He leaned his forehead against the steering wheel, squeezing his eyes shut. His thoughts were spiraling now, voices looping inside his head like the roads outside. If it's real, I can't leave him. If it's fake, it wants me to believe. If I get out, I won't come back. If I stay, I'll go mad. He felt tears at the corners of his eyes. It had been hours, or days, or weeks. Time was meaningless now. I don't know what's real anymore. And then, like a rope tightening around his chest, he realized something terrifying. He wanted to believe it was his dad. He wanted to get out, sit down, be told everything was okay. And that was how he knew. It wasn't real. He sat up, wiped his face, and put the car in drive. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the figure, "but you're not him." He stared at the center of the junction, at the teacup, at the stillness. Then he closed his eyes and floored the gas. The engine roared, tires screeched. He didn't look, didn't blink, just drove. The sound of the engine was the only thing anchoring Alex to reality. His eyes snapped open. The car surged forward, still trembling from the force of acceleration, but the junction, it was gone. No crossroads, no stop sign, no scarecrows, no chair, just a single straight road, smooth, flat, narrow, trees on either side, swaying gently in the breeze. Alex blinked, once, twice. The wheel in his hand steadied, his breathing slowed. He exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. "Oh my God," he whispered, "it's over." His grip on the wheel loosened, shoulders sagged, tears welled, not from fear this time, but from relief. Somehow, someway, he'd broken the loop, escaped the nightmare, left the junction behind. The road stretched ahead like a promise. But as the minutes passed, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt hollow, like the kind of silence that comes after a scream. Alex stared at the windshield, replaying what had happened. The looping, the creatures, the fear, the teacup, his father. He bit his bottom lip, suddenly unsure. What if it was really him? He whispered. What if that was real? The thought cut deep. What if he had left his father behind, or driven through him? He gripped the wheel tighter again. No, it couldn't be. That was part of it. That had to be part of it. Still, the image wouldn't leave. That soft smile, that stillness, the steam from the cup. His father would never just sit there and say nothing. But what if that's what they made him do? "Stop it," Alex said aloud. It wasn't him. It wasn't real. None of this is real. But the words felt weightless, the kind of lie you tell yourself to keep from breaking. The road stretched on. He passed no signs, no homes, no other cars. It was too perfect, too straight, like a tunnel made of trees. And then, far ahead, something white, a glow. His breath caught in his chest. He pressed down on the gas, tires humming against the asphalt. The screen, it had to be. The one from before. Same bright white, same rectangular shape, suspended in the center of the road like a gateway. Alex laughed, a short, broken laugh. "This is it," he said, grinning through the tears. "This is the way out." He wiped his face and accelerated. The screen loomed closer, closer. He leaned forward in his seat, blinking through the brightness. There was writing. He squinted, his smile began to falter. The letters were different, no longer "turn left." Now it said, "Wrong, try again." The words pulsed, cold, unforgiving, absolute. Alex hit the brakes, skidding to a halt just feet away from the screen. Silence fell again, a deafening, heavy silence. His mouth opened, but no sound came out at first. Then, he screamed, over and over, fists pounding the steering wheel, head slamming into the horn, tears streaming down his face. The wheel shook beneath his hands as he shouted until his throat burned. Why? His voice cracked, collapsed. He sobbed, chest heaving, curled over the wheel as the screen glared back at him like a god, unmoving, uncaring,